So in our case, there are two parts to expanding into global markets. First is the go-to-market, and the second is, how do you get more depth into each of the markets. So the best way to do a go-to-market is actually have, like in our case, what we used very well was we had a lot of MNCs, like a Puma, a Nike, a Benetton, a Pizza Hut, brands like that who were working with us in India. And we basically went to them and said, can you refer us to, your counterparts outside? Because typically when you have an MNC, you have a culture where there are a lot of best practices which are circulated across. And that worked like a massive charm for us. So we got into the UK that way, we got into Singapore that way, we got into Hong Kong that way. I think out of the 16 countries that we are present in, about 10 countries we got in just through, our existing clients in India taking us out. And essentially for a real go-to-market into a new geography, your first few clients is very, very important. At least in our case, what we always try and do is get our first few clients from existing references that we have in India. Businesses like, let's take a Pizza Hut. If it works in India, there is 80% chance that it will work in Singapore. So the product market fit or the product category fit is kind of addressed more because it's working elsewhere. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is once you have your first 2-3 clients in the market when you want to scale up, there are very good ways of scaling up based on concepts like inside sales. So what we have today as a company is we have a 20-member team which essentially tries and gets leads for our sales guys who are on site in different countries. So these guys call up, these guys email prospective businesses, and although it might sound very obvious, it took us about a year to understand about inside sales. It as a model works very well. So you can search up a lot on inside sales on the net. They're very straightforward metrics on how do you build a team up, how do you size it. And once you get the leads from the inside sales team, that's when you pass it on to a direct sales guy who is locally based or the founder going and selling. So in our case, whenever we open a new geography up, it's typically, one is we go through the references that I spoke of. The second is the inside sales team actually builds up like 10, 20 leads beforehand. So whenever, whether it's me or one of the senior guys from the company traveling in, we already have like 20 meetings fixed with prospects there. And the first few clients, it's better to give a pilot when you're especially saying let's go global. And if you're using technologies like the cloud, giving a pilot is very easy. So so a combination of all this, references, inside sales, and pilots, is what's worked well for us in the global markets.